Hi, boys and girls, it's Mrs. Smiley. Yesterday I read you a story and it was called Warm Weather, and we were reading for detail. We were trying to look at the details in the pictures, and the pictures really told the story. Today we're going to read a little bit different story. This is called Wonderful Worms, and I want to compare these two books, and I want to figure out how are these books alike, but then also I want to figure out how are they a little bit different. Well, one thing I can tell you from the very beginning is this was a fiction book. It was written for enjoyment. That was a fiction story. This book is nonfiction. It's a book full of facts and information to teach us something, but it's still a pretty good book. I think you'll like it. It's very entertaining. Okay? So this is written by Linda Glasser, and the pictures are by Loretta Krapinski. Okay? And it's called Wonderful Worms. Again, though, in this book, the details and the pictures are amazing. So make sure you're looking at the pictures. You want your pictures to look like these. You've seen this once before in a book that we've read together. This is called a table of contents. So over here are page numbers, and over here it says Wonderful Worms. That's the story we're going to read. It's going to start on page 3. But if we didn't want to read that, we could read Creepy Crawler Helpers. We could see pictures of those. Or we could see a cartoon called Mirthworms. Or we could read this poem, and this tells us what page number they're on. But we want to do the story on page 3. We want to do Wonderful Worms. Ready? Earthworms are fat and wiggly, like my fingers and toes. They live where it is cool and dark and damp, where roots spread out under the ground. I'll turn this so you can see the pictures a little better. And what do you think that robin is waiting for? He's looking down that hole, waiting to get that earthworm. And then there's another animal, a little field mouse, who lives under the ground too. And you can see the roots from the tree over here. So that is the setting. That's where our earthworm lives. Okay. It says worms feel sounds with their whole bodies. They feel thunder when I walk. So you can see his shoes. And here's the worm. There are the worms going through their tunnels. There's a little chipmunk over here. He lives under the ground too, doesn't he? They are wonderful diggers. They dig passageways and burrows, but they don't use shovels or fingers or toes. How do they do it? They eat their way through and move along. So you see a bone. I bet that's what he's digging for, isn't it? That bone. See all the tunnels in there? They stretch out long and thin and squeeze in short and fat. Stretch and squeeze, or eat and dig, move and dig. So there they are, moving through the soil, and look who else is moving across the ground above the soil, the snake. Earthworms mix and turn the dirt as they dig and tunnel in the earth. They're not the only ones tunneling in the earth. Do you see the mole over here? And he is eating can you see it? A worm, just like other story. They make soil soft and airy so the roots of plants can breathe and grow. So they're helping all these plants to grow up here. See the soil around the roots? Worms don't have eyes or ears or a nose. They do have a mouth. And they need food, just like I do, but they eat dirt and rotting leaves. Oh, you can see the setting change. It's nighttime now, isn't it? They swallow tiny pieces, and inside the worms, the food changes. He's eating strawberries, but the worm is eating the soil and the leaves. When it comes out of their tail ends, It makes the earth rich so plants can grow. Earthworms are my helpers, the underground gardeners. We work hard in the dirt, and in my garden, they're home. Look how beautiful his garden is, and those worms are making the soil healthy for his plants. And that's the end of that story, and that was called Wonderful Worms. So that was another story. So you might want to say, let's compare them. How are these two books alike? Can you think of anything that's the same about them? They both had great pictures, didn't they? They both had worms, and they both taught us a little bit about worms, didn't they? This taught us more information, but they both had worms. They both had great pictures with lots of details. Is there anything else you can think of? We learned about the tunnels in this story also. Did some of the illustrations look a little bit alike? Can you see the tunnels in these pictures? So both of the books showed us earthworms and their tunnels. That's how they're alike. And if we want to say how they're different, can you think of how we can contrast them and say that they're different? Was there a pizza parlor in this book? No. Was there a pizza parlor in this book? Yes. So this book was more about the boy and the girl and the characters. And the worms were part of the story. But I would say the boy and girl, it followed them more, that boy and girl. Were there a boy and girl in this story? There wasn't a girl, but we did see that boy. There he is. And there are his feet. And there was a snake, and there were lots of animals in this book, weren't there? So there was a girl and boy in this story. In this story, we just had a boy. This story had the pizza parlor and the home and the places that the family went. This story didn't have all of those places. We did see the boy's garden, though, so that was helpful. I also think that this book had a lot of animals, a lot more animals in it. And I really liked that about this story. We got to see the snake and the mole and the frog. Every page had other animals that lived in that garden too. So I hope you enjoyed this story. This was called Wonderful Worms. The book we read yesterday was called Worm Weather. And it's fun to read books and then to say how they're alike and how they're different. Okay, good job, boys and girls. I'll see you soon. Have a great day.